And it looks amazing, and that's one of my most talked about photos. If I display it
Is that the wedding
openly,
you got on my shoulders for a photo?
that was a different one.
Was that? Who was that?
That was in on the lake as well.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good photo.
Yeah, just to get the couple not in
Yeah,
the.
just know that if you book us, then someone will get on someone's shoulders. Timothy.
What do they do when
Is
I
it
cock
Tim?
it up?
Is it Tim or Timothy?
It's definitely Tim.
A bit like legally. Timothy.
It's Timothy. But don't tell that to everyone.
No.
Just you, Joe.
And now all of the Wedding Playbook fans. Tim, great to have you on the show, man.
Thank you for having
How
me.
are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, nice and relaxed after an Easter break. Took a week away to the south of Spain.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, ready to get back at it now.
Are you
raring to go.
back into the wedding season yet, or have you got a
Back
little bit
into
of
wedding
time?
season? Yep,
In
just
full swing?
yep. We're just heading into it now. My first weekend. I did take most of April out of the diary to go on holiday. So yeah, my first weekend back, I've got 3 in a row.
Nice,
So
man.
that'll wake me up, get me
Yeah,
going.
I've
Really,
just done 3 in a row.
yeah.
And they're not too bad once you're like in the wedding season, but at the very beginning,
I quite like it because you get a bit of a flow. You get,
Yeah.
you know, you can sort of develop on ideas as you go through those days,
Yeah.
and you know, take inspiration from yourself. And honestly, just getting out amongst people,
yeah,
chatting to people at the wedding, you know, other suppliers. Because what we do is over the non-wedding season is a lonely job when you're
Massively.
sitting in a cupboard.
I saw
editing.
your Christmas night out though. That looked wild. You sat on your own in the pub.
Oh yeah, that was just a little TikTok idea. But it is a little bit like that. You know, we spend a long time just staring at a screen, no real, you know, chatting to anyone.
Yeah.
So to get out and about, you know, and see people and bump into other suppliers that I haven't seen since the last weddings we did together. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting going.
Good, man. I did have an idea a little while ago about like renting a warehouse and just filling it with creators, and then we just all sit in there and edit together. But then I feel like no work would get done.
Yeah, I think the local pub would benefit very well from that.
Yeah.
And I think there might be a few scuffles
Yeah.
at random
Don't
points.
edit it like that.
And you get the random people that turn up at 6 a.m. to do their work because they want to get it done.
Yeah.
Very much like me, I love to get stuff done. But then you'd get the people rocking in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and working till the early hours of the morning, which
Yeah.
you know is perfectly fine. But
Are you a daytime editor or a nighttime?
absolutely, yeah. So I normally do the school run. So when I get home from the school run, it's head down editing and admin and that kind of thing. I don't tend to do much in the evening,
Yeah.
work wise, because of the family. And I just feel like there's too much going around me to focus on what I'm doing. I'm very much when I'm editing or working at home, sort of there's no TVs on, there's no music. I literally just sit in silence, and
Really?
it sounds quite depressing.
That does,
And
yeah.
just crack on with what I got to do, otherwise I get distracted too easy. And then before I know it, I'm watching hour-long YouTube videos about.
See, I can't YouTube while
Cars,
I'm working. If I am, it's got to be something long and boring.
The thing is, when I watch stuff or I listen to stuff, I do it because I'm really interested in it.
Yeah.
So that just competes for my attention. So like, you know, I'm watching something about cars on YouTube, I'll be like, right, well, that's now got my attention.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas what I was meant to be doing, whether it's work, whether it's stuff around the house, yeah, just fades into the background.
Man. See, I'm a nighttime editor, I think. Like, there's too much, I get frustrated during the day because there's too many noises. And I like to like zone in a bit. When nighttime's come and little one's gone to bed and Shanice is on the couch watching her telly, I had a bit of a nighttime editing session last night.
Yeah, see, I don't know. By that point, my mind's checked out.
Yeah.
There's been times when I've had to jump in because, you know, I did was it August last year, something like 13 or 14 weddings, so I had no choice but to burn a bit of the midnight oil. But out of choice, no. If I had my way, I'd be up really early in the morning and just start at 6, half 6, breakfast at the desk, work through till 2, 3 o'clock, and then call it a day. But kids.
Do you enjoy the editing process? Because I know
I
like
do.
some prefer photos of editing and
I absolutely love, because what we do on a wedding day, it's always so quick. I never
yeah,
ever get a chance to sit down and look at what I've got, if that makes sense. I know there's stuff in there, I know I've done all the right things, but I never get an opportunity to actually look in detail what I've done.
yeah,
So I love um the bit where I finally get them on the big screen and I can see, oh, well, you know what, that worked really well, or that happened, and or there's this in the background which you can't see on a little
yeah,
camera screen. um and I really do enjoy that side of it. And then the editing, um it's nice to see stuff come to life a bit, and
yeah.
give it a little bit
Finally
of
see it
something
all come
extra.
together.
Yeah, because I'm not massive on, um when we say editing, I'm more about polishing, and that kind of thing, rather than sort of heavy detail editing,
Yeah, keep it natural.
so keeping it natural. So it's a relatively quick process, but yeah, it's really enjoyable. And then once the full gallery's together, then switch. Sometimes I switch a few photos around so it runs in like,
Yeah,
the order feels a bit better, not always chronological. But yeah, and then that moment of, you're like, right, well, I'm done with that. Upload it, send it out to the client.
so what's that process like then when you're looking and getting the gallery together? Because like for me, like we got the trailer and the cinematic. The trailer is like a mishmash of a bunch of different clips in, like say, non-chronological order that look awesome, and then the cinematic is the running highlight. So they both look great. So is it dependent on the couple or the wedding? Um,
With regards to order,
yeah,
um, it just I try and make the gallery flow.
yeah,
So, for example, if I'm at a venue and the bride and groom are there, I spend most of my time with a bride, but I will jump out and get some groom's photos. But what I'll do is, I might jump out and get a couple of details photos, but they're not dressed yet, so we can't do buttonholes.
yeah,
So then I go back in with a bride, and then I come back out. So when the gallery gets put together, I then put all the groomsmen stuff together, and then normally after bridal prep, or if there's like a suitable break in the middle, just so when it's not like jumping to and from
yeah,
situations, if that makes sense. It's sort of like, right, bride's getting ready, groom's getting ready, and then the rest of the day is mostly chronological. Sometimes if I've done some nighttime photos, I'll leave them till the end, even
yeah,
if we didn't do them at the end, because I like to, sort of say it as a thank you and good night. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
you got all your dance floor photos, and then it's like, there you go.
yeah,
That's a good place to end it. With the nighttime photos, or something quite punchy, so they're not left wanting more.
yeah, yeah.
If they're scrolling through dance floor photos, it could. There's no definitive end other than the end of the night, but I like to sort of like bookend their gallery, so it's like, there you go, that's
Yeah.
it. That's the end.
Yeah.
And they're not going to carry on like doing an awkward scroll. Like, is there any more?
Where's the rest?
Yeah.
So are couples like involved in their final photo choices, or is that like down to
So
the
the way I
creators?
handle that is I take all of that stress off the clients. On a wedding day, I can take 4,000 or 5,000 photos quite
Yeah.
easily. If I've got a second shooter as well, there'll probably be another 3,000 on top of that. So I do a very quick cull, and I literally go through it, and I take out. I don't. I keep in everything that kind of grabs my attention.
Yeah.
And the way I've always handled this is, there'll be some that aren't technically perfect, but I'll leave them in, because the value of the photo isn't just in the technicalities
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how it was shot.
With
I
the
may look
memory in the moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the moment above everything. If it's it's ever so slightly out of focus, but it's still a nice photo, I'll just put it in. It's easier for clients to delete a photo that I've delivered
Yeah.
than for them to never see what they could have had,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that makes sense. So I always think about that. And there's somewhere, they don't mean much to me. Maybe they're not technically that great, but it
Could
might be
mean a lot
someone
to
really
them,
important.
right?
Absolutely. And you know what it's like, when you're in this industry, or you're in the video industry, you know what it should look like.
Yeah.
The creme de la creme. And we're very quick to go, oh, well, you know what, that's not quite right, but I just
I
won't
think it's just
include it.
our personal creative
Yeah.
mind that we wouldn't personally go for that
And when
photo, but
it's the same as when you show a photo to, you show your holiday photos to your mum and your dad. They don't go, oh, well, that one's slightly out of focus. They don't, that's quite noisy or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I've done everything as technically as good as I can. But there are some moments where, you're reacting and, you've got someone inside over there and then you turn around and there's someone doing something.
Yeah.
You're like, you've just got to get it in the camera. You've got no time to react to what's happening.
It's a fast-paced job.
It is very fast paced. And
How do you deal with the first kiss? So we had a first, for me it's all right because the cameras just stay rolling.
yeah,
But when you get the kisses, it is just a
I just take loads and loads of photos.
Yeah.
And a new technique that I've kind of done this year. So I shoot with two camera bodies, one with a 35mm lens, one with an 85. Is I will literally hold the 35 and I'll put the 85mm camera on top. So I'm shooting with two cameras. I use Sony as well, and they shoot 20 frames a second as well. So it's you could miss it. Some like a quick peck and the couple pull away. But again, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to go, you know what? If it didn't really happen, I can't make it happen.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do now.
Sometimes the registrars ask if we want it again.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Which is nice, but then it's...
But then it's forced. The couple know it's forced. If the couple were only comfortable doing what they did, which is, I'm guessing, why they did it, then I don't want to be the person that forces them to do something else for the camera. That's not really how I work. They've got to be comfortable first and foremost in
it's
what
tough
they're
when
doing.
you've got like 50 to 100 people watching you and you've got to try and be...
It absolutely is. There's a massive pressure, and you're at that moment where like you can feel the end of the ceremony is coming to an end, or the couple can, and they just want to get it done at that point. And if I go, oh, can we do that? It's a bit too contrived. There is times in a ceremony where like I've reshot stuff. So for example, there was one last year and the flower girl came down the aisle spreading her petals out of a little basket. Really nice moment, but she was 6 foot behind a bridesmaid.
Right.
So in the photos, I can't see her. I'm at the front. There's not much I can do. But then when the couple was signing the register, we normally get 3 or 4 minutes of downtime effectively. So I just got her to do it again. Cropped in really close to her so you can't see any surroundings or anything. But then they still get the photos. And again, when I edit them, they just get dropped back in the gallery. So people won't realise that I've done that. They, their guests were sitting there in front of me, but the couple may never have actually realised.
Well, they're up there busy, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, and they should be concentrating. But that's quite an important moment. It's the weddings are full of important moments, and them photos were really nice, and I don't want them to miss out on it. If it had been all of the bridesmaids had done that, then I probably wouldn't have restaged it because it then becomes a production, that kind of thing. But little moments like that, you can kind of go, hang on, let's just do that again. And the kids are normally quite receptive to doing so.
I think it's quite an innocent moment to sort of recreate anyway. It's not like one of those major moments like the rings going on the first kiss.
Yeah, absolutely. Saying that, I have also restaged the rings, but I didn't do it at the ceremony. So what happened is it was at a venue where you have to shoot from with the guests in front of you and then the couple in front of them. So you're shooting from the back of the ceremony.
Like church weddings.
Yeah, and it was a really bright day. If I'd done anything from any other direction, it just wouldn't look as good. Looked as good. So the couple exchanged, they called their son up, who was the ring bearer, and he stood right in front of them. And I was like, right, okay, they're exchanging rings. We can see they're doing it, but there's a boy-shaped person in front of them. So I was like, right, cool. Like, it wasn't the right moment to redo it. The registrars probably wouldn't it just wasn't. But then later on in the day, I just got them to stand where they're exchanging rings. Again, really tightly cropped, so you can't see that there's no guests or whatever. Got them to do it, and then went and dropped it back into their gallery. Again, the couple did know I did that because I said to them, do you want me to do it? Because this is what happened. But again, when you get those moments, it's just about like having a positive spin on it and going, you know what, I didn't get that, and it's no fault of my own, but there's something we can do to make sure that the couple don't miss out. It is never going to be quite as authentic, but exchange of the rings is quite an important moment.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes sometimes.
So what got you into photography in the first place?
So I grew up. I loved drawing. I loved painting. Any sort of creative. I knew that I had it in me to be creative, but I didn't have a way of getting it onto a piece of paper
Yeah.
or on a screen. I had visions in my head. Through GCSE art and all that. I had visions in my head, but my body was unable to carry them out.
Yeah.
So when I first got a camera, my uncle bought me my first camera. It was a film camera. It was $39.99 from Argos. I remember it like it was yesterday. It just gave me a way of getting what I saw onto a medium effectively.
Yeah.
And I started out doing all the typical photographing your holidays, that kind of thing. And then when I think I was about 16 or 17, I was like, I really want a proper camera. My
Yeah.
father-in-law had bought a nice camera, and I was like, you know what, I really want one. And we went up to me and my now wife, so my girlfriend at the time, we went up to Blue Water, and Jessops were doing like a Jessops. Remember them?
Yeah, man.
Just shops full
There's
of
only a
cameras.
couple of shops of them right now.
I went up there, and they were doing a time limited deal, and it was a Canon 1000D and the kit lens. I think it was 199 or 299, but it was significantly cheaper than it
Yeah.
would have been everywhere else. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't know. I was young. I was probably part-time job. That was probably near enough a month's money.
Yeah.
But then we got home, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and buy it. So we literally got home from Blue Water, then drove straight back up to Blue Water. I got it, and then just did the typical photography things of
Flowers, dogs.
flowers. Not so much dogs. Ducks. I live in a village with a load of ducks. So there's loads of ducks. Lots of like landscape. I was massive into like seascapes, like 10-stop photography and all of that. And a bit of motorsport as well. Absolutely loved that. Again, massively fast paced. And that's how I came to be a photographer.
Nice, man. So why weddings? Why not continuing down the route of photographing ducks?
Well, there's no money in ducks. It just kind of happened, and I think it does with a lot of creatives. I don't think any creatives go, you know
No.
what, I wanna be a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
Unless they've had massive exposure to the industry.
Well, yeah, if you're like parents, and stuff
parents.
like that.
If my daughter turned and said I want to be a wedding photographer,
sort of
then
get
I
it.
kind of understand. But I took my camera, I had a little Fuji camera at one point, and we went to a friend's wedding, and they had a photographer.
So you were that guest.
I was
with
that
your own
guest.
camera?
Absolutely not. I kept myself to myself. I just shot stuff that was in front of me. It was mostly of me and my wife, little bits and pieces. I had literally 2 or 3 minutes with the couple they had like a nice vintage car, and I did some photos there for them. But that was never my intention.
Yeah.
But when I got there, I could immediately see that the photographer may have been slightly out of their depth.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make sure that the couple had something, that if all else failed, then there's something for them. So I did that, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I got some nice photos, and they absolutely loved them, and just there wasn't many. And you know what? I was like, this thing, and then I did my first wedding, my first real wedding, which was quite brave because I never really second shot for anyone. I started as a wedding photographer, and I was like, I'm going to book my own weddings, and it's kind of got me into like the style that I sort of do now. I was speaking to another photographer through another group where we sometimes every month we have like just a Zoom with another photographer at complete random from the group, and we chat, and we were speaking about confetti, and I was like, you know what, I like to set it up because it gives me the maximum opportunity to get the best photo from. And
What do you mean set it up?
So like lead the guests out, get 2 lines,
like do the
and that, to me, that's always what I've done.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I just let it happen. And I'm like, but what if
I
What
mean,
if it doesn't happen? Or
even setting it up,
yeah,
it's hard to get all guests in
yeah.
the right
And
place.
it was after that conversation that I came back on myself, and I was like, you know why I set it up? Because I didn't have the experience in the first place. When I started shooting weddings, I had to give myself the best opportunity of the best photographs.
Yeah,
And the best way to do that was I set stuff like confetti up. And
yeah.
that's kind of how I did it. But yeah, going back, so shooting my first wedding was at the Free House Inn.
Okay, lovely
Um,
venue.
very nice venue. But I didn't realise what I'd let myself in for. It
Right.
was a dark, I think it was an October or November day. And we all know as photographers and videographers, you know, darkness creates all kinds of problems. But I shot that wedding, learned like unbelievable amounts. You
It's
know,
crazy what you pick up on day one, right?
yeah, and it's not all about the camera as well. It's like handling myself in front of people.
Yeah,
How to speak to venues and that. Like I came from a job where I spoke to my team. I knew my team. I knew what they had for dinner last night. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Rather than coming into, you know, somewhere like the Free House Inn, very welcoming, not a problem. But technically, it was quite a difficult wedding. But I came away from there and I was like, you know what, these photos are good. They're not amazing, like they're not absolutely incredible from you know the standards that I set myself. And I look back and I was like, these photos are better than the ones that I got for my wedding.
yeah.
So that was probably about 6-7 years before that. We got married at a local church and had our reception at the Orangery. And I compared the two and I was like, you know what? In an environment that was way harder,
Yeah,
I've actually delivered, from my point of view, a better thing, you know. And I charged a couple of £100. It was very like minimum risk for them. You know what? They knew where I was. I never lied. I never said that I'd, you know, conquered the wedding photography world and, you know, it was only charging £200 a day
yeah,
just to help them out. Um, so, you know, people took a little bit of a risk, but I gave them everything, um, you know, that I had in my technical locker to
yeah,
deliver, you know, and from there, yeah, started out just getting my own weddings, you know, starting really cheap, building it up and just growing it and getting that experience. And, you know, I always had the mentality of, you know what, I'll get my safe shots and then I'll do what I want.
yeah,
You know, there's times where I'll be like, I've got that shot. I don't need any more of that shot. They're not moved. Um, I can try something really different.
yeah,
Maybe I can put a mirror on the ground and get a reflection, or maybe I can do that. Um, and just push myself that way. And then that led into finding out what I liked and what I didn't like. So in my early years, a lot of things were sometimes a bit forced. And they were really nice photos, but I look back and be like, is there any value to the couple?
yeah,
So now, um, definitely a little bit more natural. Still adding in, you know, like the nighttime photography has been massive for me. You know,
yeah,
that's what I almost built my career on. But then it can't just be a photo of a couple in the darkness with some fancy colours around them. It's got to have a meaning. It's got to have somewhere
impact.
from the venue. You know, a lot of the time it's done where they got married, or it'll be a certain part of the venue that's you know, it might be iconic, or it might be, oh, we love this bit.
Yeah,
And just trying different things with different couples, different areas, and just seeing what I can do. Do you know what I
so is
mean?
the nighttime shot, is that your like go to sort of like epic shot that you've got to get at most weddings?
Um, it used to be. I went through a stage of, you know, that I've got to get that to the point where I do a summer wedding in August. Or well, sorry, you know, a June wedding, long days, and I'd be staying there till like 10:30, 11 just to get
Pitch
it the
black.
right darkness. Or I'd be doing something a little bit different, so I'd do it in the daylight, but make it on the camera so it's dark, and then use
Yeah,
flashes and all of that. But now I sort of, first of all, it has to be dark.
yeah,
That's the ultimate thing, and it has to have meaning. As I said, it has to be a part of the venue. It has to have. There's no point creating something out of nothing because it's
no,
going to have no relevance to the wedding. Um, but yeah, and again, it depends on time of year and when I'm booked until. If I'm booked till 7:30, 8 o'clock in a June wedding, then
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's not much I can do
No.
about the getting dark.
So what do you enjoy the most about what it is that you do?
I enjoy getting out amongst people, chatting about what they do for a job. And
It's great hearing people's stories, man.
absolutely, like I was speaking to some guy, and he was a tradesperson of some kind. I can't remember, but he just had so much enthusiasm for what he
Yeah.
was doing, and I'm like, mate, you're going to be the best at. You could be the best at what you do
Yeah.
because you've got that fire in your belly, and if you've got that, you're way ahead of
Yeah.
everyone. If you want to be, and hearing stories of people's travels. I did a wedding at the barnyard, and one of the I think it was the grandparents had flown down or something, like in a helicopter, and you're just like, what? That's, I wouldn't even consider that. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and yeah, just getting to know people, especially the bride and groom, or the couple getting married. Just yeah, I love those environments. I'm not the type of photographer, and I say this to when I speak to couples. You won't find me in the corner with a massive zoom
No.
lens. That's not how I work. I'm in
It's
amongst your
weird, man.
weddings. Yeah,
I think if you're not involved with the couple and the guests as part of the wedding, just go home. Like
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so boring. Because then it's boring for us,
Yeah, it's boring for us. It's boring
especially
for
for
them.
yourself. Where like most weddings, you may not have a videographer,
Yeah,
so you're then just stood on your own, just not talking and
yeah, and it's not the right environment to do that. And I've always said to couples, you won't see me in a bush with a massive zoom lens, because you know what it's like when you're at an event and someone over there is with everyone starts like acting a little bit differently because
you
they
get a bit
don't know what they're doing.
self-conscious. I
Yeah,
think.
more self-conscious than if someone's in your face with a camera. If something's happened to me, say like there's a magician and I'm like, I'm in there,
Yeah,
I'm photographing it. One, the photograph's going to feel like you're there. And two, I've got the environment. I love photographing things in places. I don't want loads of headshots.
yeah,
They're no value to me. I want to know where that person was, why they're laughing, who they're with, what beer they're drinking. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like all of those little things that you'll look back and go, oh, do you remember when we were all drinking this beer, or when we're all wearing this type of suit, or
yeah.
and that's what really adds to it. I don't want headshots. That's they're no good for me.
No, no, man, definitely not. I hate that. I mean, obviously, like the first year of doing weddings myself, like you probably found it yourself. Like it's very awkward trying to get involved because I don't know where the limits are, and I don't know if I am just a hired hand that needs to stay in the background, or you want me in the forefront.
Yeah, I think you gain the experience of reading a room.
Yeah,
You can't bowl into bridal prep in the morning and just be like massively loud. And do you know what I mean? Because there was just a group of people in there before you. They were just chilled.
yeah.
If you come in with like,
Got to read the
you're
room.
just gonna, like hitting a brick wall. And I heard on another podcast about how the environment changes when like a male photographer arrives at bridal prep,
Yeah,
or a female arrives at groom prep, or that kind of thing. So very aware of that, but at the same time you've got to be like, yo, I'm here now, we're going to crack on, we're going to have
yeah.
a good day, you know and not be too far in the shadows.
I think what you said there about bride prep, being a bloke going into bride prep. I mean, again, first year that was a really really daunting task
It
because
is, because of the conversations you hear,
it's so different.
and you're just like, us blokes, we don't have these type of
Mm,
conversations that you're having.
no,
I'm not just talking about weddings, but in general, what girls talk about
yeah,
is totally different. So I almost thought like I have no place in this
yeah.
conversation.
And then you've got to photograph it.
Yeah, and then you've got to
But
photograph it. But when I arrive in the morning, I'm I'm nice. Oh, yeah, it's nice to be here. Blah blah blah. And then just gradually ease in.
yeah,
And you can start to read the room. If people are a bit more formal than you used to, then you can adapt to
mm,
that. If you like, they're up for a
yeah,
laugh. I did a wedding, and there was I turned up, probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. The girls are all getting ready. There's drum and bass blasting everywhere.
Yeah.
There's alcohol being drunk. Everyone's partying. You know what? I can be like, yeah,
We're
I
gonna
can
get along.
adapt to that. Admittedly, I did go away for 5 minutes, gather my thoughts, and then go back in. But you can adapt to that, and you can go, right, you know what? That's the environment I'm in. You can't then go be like the guy in the corner,
Yeah.
because you'll just get lost. You're not going to get anywhere.
I found that going in and saying hello to the girls without a camera massively helped. In most scenarios anyway, because then you go in just as a normal person, no cameras, then they know you're here, and then kind of know what's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to have an expectation that there's going to be someone with a camera at some
Yeah.
point during the day, but normally they're very wary about, at what stages of the morning photos are taken. And you just have to be mindful of that. But I've always got a thing of like, am I ever going to deliver a photo with, a bridesmaid with foundation, like not, when they
it's
put
just
like
been put
almost like
on
war
and-
paint, like
Yeah.
there's no value in that.
No.
She's not going to hang it on her wall. She's not going to look at it and go, "Whoa, look at that."
See, I think for me,
Like,
with those moments, I find it quite, I don't know, helpful to film. It don't make the final cut, but I always say if I can make you feel comfortable when you're like that, imagine how you're gonna feel when it's all done.
yeah,
and you're
absolutely.
all feeling
There
amazing.
is some value, and the value as well of you being there at that moment
Yeah.
in time. But yeah, I just ease into the day. You know what? If it's 10:30, 11 o'clock for a 2 o'clock ceremony, there's loads of time to get stuff. So the first 15 minutes is more about me being there. Like, I'll get my cameras out. I won't do it, unless something's happening in front of me. I won't be like frantically,
Yeah.
getting all my cameras out. I would have been at the venue nice and early because I'm a massive believer that, just never ever be late.
I just got OCD. I'm OCD about that. I need to I will say 2 hours before, but I'm there like 3.5 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I've done ones where if it's a bit of a drive away, I've got there like a couple of hours early,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'd rather be within 10 minutes of the venue getting a coffee.
See, I just like knowing that I'm set up.
Yeah,
If I can get all, because I mean, we've worked together loads. There's a lot of kit that I come with. So if all the cameras are ready to go for ceremony, all the mics are ready for ceremony and speeches, all my A cams are ready to go, and gimbal is ready. I know as soon as you get there, we can go straight up, and I don't have to then fanny around.
yeah,
Come
absolutely.
ceremony.
It's that being prepared that then gives you the confidence that you
Yeah.
can crack on and do what you need to do. I just I couldn't handle going in, say I turned up at the venue, and I'm all flustered because I'm late. I
Yeah.
don't know whether I've got everything. Do you know what I mean? And then rolling into bridal prep and just being like,
Yeah.
I just want to,
Easy
feel
and-
feel good.
Yeah, man,
Why would you not
definitely.
want to be in a position where you feel good and you can have a great day
Yeah.
by just being organised? That's
Exactly.
key.
So what are some common mistakes that couples may make when it comes to booking a wedding photographer?
I think one of the major ones may be like rushing in, and making a decision very quickly.
Yeah.
There's not that much of a rush. Do you know what I mean? Unless you've got a peak date and it's approaching very, very soon. You've got the time to have a look around, and see what's out there. Speak to people that have had their photos done. But and again, don't take that for gospel. Some people like a different style of photo. Your friend may have got married, and they love their photos, but they may not be photos that you'd like of
Yeah.
yourselves. And I always say, like, can you imagine yourself in the photos that you're looking at of the vendors that you're potentially choosing? Because if you can't, then to me, that's not really a good fit.
Yeah.
If someone came to me and wanted something very editorial, direct flash, that kind of thing, I'm not the right person for
Yeah.
that. And I've said that to couples. I've turned away work where I'm like, you know what, you're not going to be ultimately happy. I don't want a client that wants something different than what I'm really good
Yeah.
at.
Well, you don't want to get in the edit and then send them everything and then not be happy with it.
No, absolutely. So I would say, yeah, make sure that you can picture yourself in that person's photos, and as well dive a little bit deeper into people. So are these people that you're looking at showing their face online? Are they present? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that you have to always be online, that kind of thing. Um, and what other people are saying about them. Don't take it word for word off their website. Go and have a look at their Google reviews. Go and have a
Yeah.
look at where they've been tagged on Instagram. What people have genuinely been saying about them, because it's not all about the photos. It's about the person that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Um, I've always said that, if you were a really good person on the day, but you delivered average photos, you'll be known as a really good photographer, really good. But if you deliver amazing photos, but you're not approachable on the day, you don't help out, you've got a face like a slapped ass,
Yeah.
then that's what you'll be known for, not the photos.
Yeah.
So you need a balance of both. Someone that's going to come along and help you on the day, be alongside you, because you spend a lot of time with your photographer. Everyone says that, and it's true. You want someone that can lead you and guide
Yeah.
you, and he's going to be there to help you. The amount of times I turn up to a wedding, I go and see the groom, I'm like, yo, I'm just going to take 2 minutes to tell you what's going to happen for the rest of the day. And you may remember it, you may not.
Yeah.
But it's going to make him feel a little bit more comfortable. And ultimately, he knows I'm on his side.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. It's not all about the photos. It's about the person you're getting along with it.
Yeah. And I think, like what you said about reviews, like reviews are massively helpful. I know, well, obviously we spoke off the air about everything that's going on in the industry with reviews and Google pages and stuff at the moment. So people may find themselves looking at a company that don't have reviews at the minute because of this stupidness that's going on. So check out everything, like if they've got a bride book, Hitched, Facebook.
Yeah, as well. And I'm a massive believer in drop these people a message.
Yeah.
You can get an understanding of what someone's like off your first email.
Absolutely.
So with when people email me on a first inquiry, I try to get back to everyone, within about 24 hours. Whether that's look, I'm happy to have a chat, here's some more information, or whether it's, what, I can't do it. I'm booked already. Here's some other options. But you can gauge a lot from that first message. I often say to couples, if you're emailing suppliers offering, the opportunity that they can work for you, and they're not getting back to you within a day or two,
Yeah.
what are they going to be like once you've paid them?
Yeah.
And do your background checks. It's so easy to, have a social media presence these days, and get big numbers.
Yeah.
But actually, some people haven't got the experience to back up what the social profiles are saying,
Yeah.
for example. You might look at their feed and it's a lot of photos from the same wedding, or it's a lot of photos from styled shoots. And don't be afraid to ask for full galleries, because some people don't like showing them, but you know what? That's what we do.
Yeah.
We
always, like I said it loads, like we always showcase our best work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we've got to. It's how businesses run.
Yeah.
But like you say, a full gallery then will show you, like, because if your website is just nighttime shots, that's great, and you're showcasing what you're amazing at. But people may want to see the natural shots, the prep, the walking down the aisle, the B-roll, the stuff like that.
Absolutely, because the photos that we see as important are sometimes not the most important to the couple.
No.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of photographers' photos where we're trying to, outdo the other photographer or do something different, or I did this. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But look a little bit deeper into it. Is there sort of photos from all parts of the day? Is there particular people, and none of their guests are in the photos? Like, I've made a very conscious decision, and I've done this from the moment I've started. Everything on my social media is from a real wedding.
Yeah.
There's no styled shoots. There's no portfolio building days. There's nothing like that. Because I feel it's just been a little bit more honest. It's going maybe against the grain a little bit.
Yeah.
I had someone reach out not that long ago. I was like, we love your work. Can you come and do a styled shoot? And I'm like, that's great, but I've got no benefit, because I won't share any of the images, because I've made that decision that nothing of mine is is from a style shoot. And don't get me wrong, like they are great for, you know, perfecting
Great for
stuff.
great for learning new techniques,
it,
or if you've got a new camera.
yeah, it gives you that safety net. And the option to do stuff when you want. So, you know, if you want to wait for sunset, you can do. But we know,
Yeah.
like in a real wedding world, it sunsets sometimes when the speeches are happening.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen. And they can be great for that. But, you know, I made the decision very early on that everything I show, real weddings,
Yeah.
real people, real weddings, and that's it.
Good, man. Good, nice. So what's your favorite part of the wedding day to photograph?
I really enjoy bridal prep.
Okay.
I like small groups of people,
Yeah.
you know, getting to know people. You know, you've got the makeup artist, the hair as well there, and you're having a little chat. And you can feel like the excitement and, you know, the nerves building a little bit. And I kind of like that. But yeah, then after that, it's got to be confetti.
Yeah.
Like confetti is just, I say this to my couples, like, even if you're not that fussed about having that as a photo, just do a confetti photo.
Yeah.
Because it's a great opportunity for everyone to just enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
You know what? So as we said earlier, like I arranged the confetti lines while the couple are having a drink or a canapé. Come along and get them. And like, just come through, have fun. You know, just enjoy it,
Yeah.
smile, laugh. If you're enjoying yourself, the photos will come. You know, and at that point as well, I've got all of the guests together. So what I tend to do as well is I give them a little bit of guidance on what's going to happen through the day. But there's nothing worse than being a guest and you're like, oh, well, what's happening? So I'll be like, guys, bride and groom are going to walk down this way. You're going to throw confetti up and over, blah, blah, blah. After this, we're going to do a big group photo of everyone. And then we'll be doing some smaller family photos later on. If you're called, just leave any glasses, you know, drinks glasses, sunglasses, handbags where you are, so we can get them done as quick as possible so the bride and groom can enjoy the rest of the day.
Get you back to drinking.
Yeah. And if you want a photo at any point in the day, come say, Tim,
Yeah.
I want a photo. It's cool. Like, and again, it gives you that trust to the people around you that, you know, you're a good guy.
Yeah.
You'll help them out. And that shows in the photos as well. But yeah, absolutely confetti.
Yeah, man. So what? So this, do you prefer like flower petals or the paper?
Paper
Is
paper
king.
every single time.
Just stays in the air forever, doesn't
It
it?
stays in the air. The light comes through it, so it gives a different effect. You can have it to match your color scheme,
And it don't just drop.
no. You can have it to match your color scheme. So
Yeah.
you know, or you might have like a turquoisey bouquet or whatever, and then you go with like pink confetti.
Yeah.
So like you've got the two different, and it just adds more. The dried petals I find sometimes can be really sandy and really,
And I think if it's a hot day,
yeah,
I found this last year. They had I don't know what it was, but it was like red, and it got stuck down the bride's dress.
Yeah.
And it stained the dress.
oh yeah, I've seen it where it gets like stuck in the
Yeah,
hair,
and you've got like
and it's all like, at least with paper confetti as well,
Yeah.
it's big, so you can pick it out.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's little bits of petals, it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
It literally gets everywhere, and a lot of the time they don't, because they're so dry, they don't let the light through, so they just end up with like black clumps.
yeah,
But yeah, paper confetti, you know,
all day.
all day,
All
every
day.
day, and it's biodegradable as well. You know.
Yeah,
That's
if
really
you go for the
important.
right company. Don't just like cut bits of
Yeah,
paper up.
absolutely. Always biodegradable. We don't want to be thrown around.
Little shout out to Flutter Darlings as well. They do some absolutely amazing confetti.
Ah.
It's like big discs of it, so it just stays in forever.
Yeah, and another top tip for confetti is bring
slowly.
enough confetti for your
For
guests.
everyone.
Because people do not bring confetti to weddings anymore.
No.
Or 3 people
It's
out
when-
of your 60
It's when
people.
you see it, like I did one the other day where they had it in a basket, and the first 4 people have got a massive,
Yeah.
far too many,
And then the ones at the end have got like the
Oh, little-
basket.
a little salt bay on it.
Yeah. So
Um,
provide enough confetti for all of your guests.
Yeah,
That way as well, you can you can control what it looks like.
yeah,
So if you want all blue confetti, you can buy all blue confetti. You're not going to get mix match,
Yeah.
which is fine. And yeah, that's definitely a top tip of mine. In
Love
our
that.
final meetings, we always chat about getting
Confetti.
confetti for everyone. It's no fun sharing 4 boxes of confetti around 70, 80 people.
yeah. I like the when they're all in the bag and you get enough bags, and then the order of the day is on the bag. I think that's fantastic.
That's a great idea.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how do you handle unexpected challenges on the wedding day? Like if it's raining or like there's any delays or anything like that.
Honestly, I just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way. I don't do fluster. I don't do stress. You know, there's always a way around something. You know, if it's raining, then fine, we'll find somewhere indoors.
Yeah.
For group photos, or you know, you've got to then just adapt to what you've got in front of you.
I think it's important because if you're panicky and not knowing what to do, then the couple are panicky.
But yeah, absolutely. And this is where it comes to what I said earlier about, you know, looking deeper into people and seeing what you actually get, because people that have been doing this a long time will know all of the answers. Me and you both know the pain points in a wedding.
Yeah.
The first one is bridal prep with wet flowers. We know there's a potential issue coming in there. So whenever, you know, I'm sure you do it, I do it in the morning, I'll make sure the flowers are dried.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
The amount of times I really don't care about my appearance. Like this is me done up on a wedding day. You won't ever see me in a shirt and tie at a wedding, because it is pointless. Like I can't maneuver, I can't get around.
No, can't crawl on the floor to get something that's been dropped because everyone else is in heels and dresses, and
I've got to wear something I don't care about getting dirty. So the amount of mornings where I've had to like dry the flowers on my shirt.
Yeah, I've done that so many times as well. Where it's like there's nothing around, right?
Yeah.
Cool, well, my shirt's here and it'll dry out.
And literally the other day we were on the couple shoot and the venue very kindly brought over the couple's canapes, and he had the groom had a brownie that he got on his hands. So it's just like, just wipe it on my shirt. It's either that or the venue staff have got to run back to the venue to come back, or you've got to leave and then come back. So you won't ever see me in a shirt and a tie.
No, absolutely. Like I had a wedding, a local one. It was a good couple of years ago now, and it just rained all day.
Yeah.
But touching on with rain is, chances are you're gonna know what the weather's gonna be like on your wedding day.
Yeah.
Or roughly. Do you know what I mean? If there's a chance of rain, what'd you do? You chuck your wellies and an umbrella in the back of the car.
Absolutely.
So when it rains, you grab the brolly, we'll grab your wellies, I'll run out in the rain and get it, and we go and do photos.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're wearing nice stuff, but it's the opportunity for a memory. Like,
the thing is, are you gonna wear the dress again? No.
Probably not.
Shoes, potentially, but they can get cleaned.
Yeah.
And you can always take your dress
That's
to...
why you take wellies. You haven't even got to leave the shoes in the venue.
I was going to say you could take your dress to dry cleaners, but I actually spoke to a dress maker, bridal dress seller, and I don't know whether she said it on the podcast, but she said that a lot of these bridal dress shops that will offer dry cleaning, they just shove it in a washing machine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you could just do that. Shove your dress.
Yeah,
in a
it's just
washing
giving
machine.
someone else the confidence to do it. And,
Yeah.
But yeah, just enjoy it, because say for example the rain, that's what your wedding day is going to be remembered for. It was the day it rained. Yeah, it's good luck, but it gives you way more opportunity to do stuff that other people haven't done on their wedding day. Like, we got some beautiful photos of the bride and groom walking through the orchards, umbrella, it's raining hard.
Well, look at our couple in on the lake, John and
Jess and John.
Jess and John.
Yeah.
Somehow I managed to convince them to lay on the dock to get a drone shot of them, and it started raining, and they were fine with it.
Yeah.
Sadly, I never used the clip.
But nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah.
And the same wedding, I did a shot where they're in the courtyard of the venue, and I've just popped a flash behind them, and it's raining hard, and they're silhouetted, and the rain's everywhere. Like,
it looks epic,
and it looks amazing, and that's one of my most talked about photos. If I display it,
is that the wedding you got on my shoulders for a photo?
That was a different one.
Was that? Who was that?
That was in on the lake as well.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah, that was a good photo.
Yeah, just to get the couple not in there.
Just know that if you book us, then someone will get on someone's shoulders.
Absolutely. Need to put that in the contracts.
Absolutely.
But again, it's just making a positive out of whatever situation you're in. You know, if there's delays, who cares?
Yeah.
Like I say this to couples, who cares if there's a delay when your speeches start? I'm there all day.
Yeah.
Most of the time. You know, so if they're half hour late, they're half hour late, and they're only late because someone needs them to be late.
Yeah.
You know, if they're late because someone hasn't announced them, then I'll just say, yo, to the venue, like, are we going to crack on with this?
Yeah.
Like, and then they might be like, oh, we're just waiting for the bride's mum to come back
Yeah.
from the toilet or whatever. And I'm like, cool. But I don't really care about timelines on weddings. If I'm there from 10 till 9, I'll photograph what happens
Yeah.
in between. Like, it's not worth getting stressed out over a
No,
timeline.
absolutely.
And as well, you don't want your, you know, of course there needs to be some structure, but if I'm walking around with a timeline going, right, what's next?
You need to hurry up.
What's this? What you've lost what you've booked me for.
Yeah.
You know, the moments happening there and there because I'm walking around with a piece of paper in front of my face instead of a camera.
Yeah, exactly. So are there any like for yourself, are there any must-have shots that every couple should have on their photography list?
I think you should. It comes back to all the basics, doesn't it? You know, exchanging of rings, your first kiss, confetti, again, confetti, group photos that are important to you. And I say important to you, so spend your time doing the group photos that you want
Yeah.
and not the group photos that everyone else wants. Don't spend your wedding day in a line for an hour and a half because everyone wants something
Yeah.
from you. Spend your
Thing is,
wedding day.
like you just said, and this is what I say to everyone: have the big group shot with everyone.
Yeah.
Your
Get
family,
the politics done.
your family, and then go back and enjoy your day, because that people can get carried away and send you like 15 group shots. That's an hour out of your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas you can go around your venue, have a few drinks, get to chatting to everyone, and then use you as like a nightclub photographer. Where if they want a photo with cousin Derek,
Yeah.
they can stop you and go, "Can we get a quick photo?"
Yeah, absolutely.
And the amount of people, how many times have you seen a photo you've taken with that specific group get taken again an hour later on someone's iPhone?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're missing out massive photo opportunities there that I'm not missing because I don't have to do groups. And the couple are missing out on all this money they've spent on their wedding just to take some photos that will probably never see the light of day.
Exactly. And the other must have, and this goes against a little bit about what we just said, is the couple looking at the camera, holding the flowers, looking their best, doing nothing else but looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Normally one in portrait, one in landscape, and that is what I call a grandparent shot.
It's a good icebreaker as well, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be the one that they hang on their wall because that's what they're used to. You know, photos of couples. I did one early.
That's your traditional sort of couple photo,
and that's
isn't it?
restrained to literally one or two photos because you know how I work. I like to bit of motion, bit of enjoying them, people smiling. You don't get that when people are just looking straight at camera.
Yeah.
But I did a wedding, and this was years and years ago, and the couple emailed me after. I was like, "Oh, my grandparents are asking if you've got a photo where they're both looking at the camera," and I was like, "No, I haven't, because
think
that's
back in the day,
not really what I do."
Yeah, back in the day, they never used to do couple shoots.
You never used to
was
hold hands, walk down the orchard.
yeah.
It was you would stand there, you'd share the flowers. So now I always try and make sure I get that basic shot to avoid that.
Yeah.
But most of the other time they're moving around, they're laughing, smiling.
Yeah.
So we get some nicer shots. But we got
Good tip there for couples and their grandparents.
Absolutely. You know, yeah.
So what's your go-to move to chill couples out that may be a bit stressy on camera or camera shy? Or
I think how you behave from your very first interaction with that couple, whether they email you out of the blue because they found you on Instagram, or whether they met you at an open day, that very first time you communicate with them will tell them 60% of what they need to know. And again, then it starts on the wedding day. You know, if you turn up and you're unapproachable, if you know you come, I want my couples to say, you know, if they've had enough, to say, "Tim, go away, go and get a coffee for 10 minutes." You know, that's the freedom I want my couples to have. You know, if they've had enough of seeing my face.
You want a friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say it when we're doing couples photos, you know, there's a couple of rules. There's always got to be a point of connection.
Yeah.
So whether that's you're holding hands, you're having a hug or whatever. The second rule is, if you've had enough, you tell me.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And you build that up over the day. You know, the groom's normally a little bit nervous, and you know, you have a bit of joke. You know, you've seen me work well, when we're together, the poor couples. But we have a
They know
laugh,
what
we
they're
have a
getting into.
joke. Yeah, I hope so. We've got one coming up in a couple of weeks, actually.
Have we?
Yeah, Natalie and Dean. I think it's Natalie and Dean off the top of my head.
Okay.
But it's
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I did my phone call with them the other day.
it's about who you are on the wedding day.
Yeah.
Them being able to tell you, you know what, go away for a bit or whatever. And you want that freedom. Like I
Yeah.
say to my couples, if there's a great golden hour, I want the freedom to be able to come to you and say, this could be really nice for you guys. I don't want to feel like I can't ask you. So it works
Yeah.
both ways.
And if you don't want golden hour, or if you're fed up of being in front of camera, tell us,
just
man. It's
say.
fine.
Yeah, because
I will go and, if it's a good golden hour though, I will go and find one of your guests.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I actually did that before. I took a couple for golden hour because the bride and groom didn't want to, and then they ended up booking me for their wedding. So
Well, that's
bonus.
the result all round. Everyone won.
Exactly.
But yeah, having that freedom and having an open conversation. And I always say to my couples, just be open. If you don't want something, don't say you don't want it, because I don't want you to do something you don't want to do on your wedding day.
Yeah.
I have couples that say we got 5 minutes for couples photos. Cool. Like we do 5 minutes. Got couples that want to climb the massive hill at the back of the barn now for the sunset with Joe. Awesome. We'll do that. I'll carry my flash stand up there and it'll be graft, but I'll do it. I've got no problem with that. And yeah, how you are on a wedding day, if you can't turn around to your photographer and tell him to clear off and go and have a coffee for a bit without him taking major
that's a nice
offence,
one. Yeah.
you put the wrong person for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just building up that rapport. And that takes as much effort on the day as it does taking the photos.
Yeah.
But if you put your homework in the morning and you get that good, the rest of the day is going to come easy.
Absolutely.
Because you've done. And when it comes to the couples photos, I sometimes really want to grab couples and say, you've got no reason to be worried. If you book the right person for you, you should be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You got people that don't want couples photos. Awesome. Like, you probably want a photographer that's more documentary based. You've got couples that want to spend 3 hours of their wedding day doing it. Great. Go and get someone that's really good at doing that.
Yeah.
But if your photographer's dragging you around for an hour and a half doing couples portraits and that's not what you want, then there's a disconnect somewhere.
Yeah.
Something's not gone quite right in the planning. But yeah. And then once you get them in a camera, it's about making them think that there's not a camera there. You're just like almost like third wheeling with them or fourth.
It's weird the amount of reviews that come back through like couple shoots where they're like, I didn't even realize he was filming or photographing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, that's so silly, because that is the only thing that we are meant to be doing in that is photographing and
yeah, that is it. And they're like, oh, you made us feel so comfortable. And I'm like, no, you were comfortable
with us,
with us and yourselves. And again, it goes back to that booking process of if you're a couple that you're really chilled out, you're quite happy holding hands and you're relaxed and that you're not like, but then you book a photographer that goes more for like the style that you see in Vogue.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna feel weird because that's not how you live your life. Your wedding photos, your wedding films need to represent you as your person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I always say to people, like, the aim of what I do is just to make you be yourself.
Absolutely.
There is no point. I'm not going to have you kissing every 30. If you're not a PDA couple, we'll leave the PDA. If you want a PDA on your wedding day, great. Yeah. But then you've done that.
And you know what it's like with some couples. You treat couples differently because everyone's different out there. You've got some couples that, will spend 20, 25 minutes doing couples photos and they'll love it and they'll enjoy it and they kind of know what they're doing, you know. And you'll get some couples that are a little bit more tentative and, hold hands, walk towards the camera, have a chat with each other. And you just slowly build it up. And I tend to work quite fast paced. So, the thing I think about is when people have couple photos that they're going to be standing there staring into their partner's eyes for, until the sun goes down or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you won't have time to think about it. If you've got time to think about how awkward it feels, then
we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, you've been stood there too long or whatever. A lot of stuff I do, they're moving and that kind of thing anyway. So, but yeah, that's how I approach that. seems to work.
Brilliant. Well, mate, it's been great catching up with you for this hour.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you to get you booked in for their wedding day?
So you can find me over on the big wide web. Cocked that right up, didn't I?
Yeah. It's just staying in. I don't cut anything out of my podcast.
So you can find me over on www.tjgphotography.co.uk, on socials at TJG Wedding Photography. Yeah, that's the best places to find me.
Yeah. Well, make sure we get you tagged in like we do with everyone.
Awesome.
But before we go, who do you want to see on the podcast in the future?
I think we need some more musicians, so I'm going to say you need to go after Dave,
Mr. Brazier.
Mr. Brazier with a saxophone. Get him on. He's a good guy. We're really interesting for couples.
Love working with Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good guy. He's great at what he does, and he'll add something to your wedding that you never thought you really needed.
Absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, make sure we reach out to Dave. But, mate, great catching up, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks when we're working together again.
Cheers, mate.
Mate, take it easy.